Now, I've been holding Chainlink for years, right? Thought nothing could surprise me at this point, but I was wrong. Chainlink quietly dominated a race that I didn't even realize was happening, leaving Avalanche, Stellar, basically everyone in the dust. And the craziest part, hardly anyone even noticed at first. So there I was, late last night, right, scrolling through crypto chatter like I always do. I'm in this free educational Discord. There's a link in the description if you want to join, at least join with us kind of nerdy crew down there. And someone posted this: hey, did you see Sentiment's new data? Chainlink is ranked #1. Now, I nearly, of course, spat out my coffee, but we've learned not to do that anymore. #1 for what exactly, right? Well, turns out Chainlink has been crowned the top project for real-world asset development activity. Now, that got my heart racing. I mean, I'm a curious guy. I'm optimistic, but, cautious at the same time. And even I kind of felt a jolt that could, be at least as big as it kind of sounds. I had to investigate further here, right? And let me tell you, what I found took me on a wild ride. Record-breaking developer stats, whales pouring in, and even a potential price breakout, with a few twists. So stick around, because this story has a bit of everything, and it might just make you look at Chainlink in a whole new way. So, you know how in crypto we're always asking which coin is gonna moon next? Well, there's another question that I would like to ask. Which project is actually building something, right? One way to answer that is by looking at developer activity. It's basically a nerdy scoreboard that tracks how much meaningful coding work is actually happening on a project. Not hype on Twitter, not price pumps, but actual development, right? It's boring, maybe to some, but, to the kind of, at least to me, I guess, and long-term investors, it's actually pure gold, because if a project has a bunch of developers hammering away at the code, it means that there's actually substance behind the scenes. So back to that stat that kind of blew my mind then. In the past 30 days, XRP has had the highest development activity among real-world asset projects. They gave Chainlink a dev activity score of 237.93. Now, I know that number by itself doesn't mean much without any context, does it? So here is the context, right? The next best project was Avalanche with a score of 195. Stellar was in third at 140. IOTA came in at fourth with 102. So in other words, Chainlink's dev team outworked everyone else by a wide margin. It's not even a close call. It's not a nose ahead either. It's more like Chainlink is running laps around pretty much every other big name. And these aren't nobody projects either, right? Avalanche is a well-known layer 1 blockchain. Stellar has been around since forever, doing payments and smart contract stuff. IOTA's big into IoT, Internet of Things, and data. Yet Chainlink beat all of them with raw, at least in raw, development hustle then, right? Now, that is huge. It tells me that there's a ton of building going on in Chainlink's world right now. And guess what? Sentiment doesn't count trivial stuff either. Their methodology looks at major GitHub events, not just somebody, tweaking a typo in a code somewhere, right? This is real development. So think new features, significant upgrades, or just cleaning up the commas in the code. So as a guy who holds, who's held Link, for a very long time, seeing this is like music to my ears. I've always believed in Chainlink's tech, but it's easy to get discouraged during these quiet periods. Now, this dev activity leader kind of status, it kind of is a strong signal that the project isn't sleeping. It's actually grinding away. It's like discovering the band that you've followed for years has been secretly recording a masterpiece album while everyone else thought that they had actually broken up. Now, you might be wondering, did this developer frenzy have any effect on the price? And well, it did, right? It did, right? Chainlink's token, Link, has actually been on an absolute tear recently. Right? Over the past week, it's jumped up over 14%, and over the past month, it's up 24% roughly. We went from Link, being around $19 to $20 to blasting up to $24 like it was nothing. In fact, just the other day, Link spiked to around $26.66 before cooling off to the mid-24s. That's $26 and some change level is the highest price that Chainlink has seen in about 7 months. So if you believe me, or for everything I've been saying here, it's pretty phenomenal. Now, as for kind of long-term Link Marines, that's kind of what the fans call themselves, by the way, seeing a 2 in front of the price again, as in $20 plus, has been a long time coming. So what's really significant is Chainlink's finally broke through some of that stubborn $20 to $21 resistance zones that had held it back for what felt like ages. Seriously, right? $20 was like a brick ceiling, that Link just kept bumping its head on, right? Earlier this month, it smashed through it, and it did so with gusto and some strong trading volume. And that's a big deal because breaking a long-term resistance can signal a trend shift from bearish to bullish. Now, I remember staring at the chart, seeing $22, $23, $24, and just feeling, wow, it's finally happening. It's that kind of breakout that I've been waiting years for. I may or may not, have done a little happy dance in my chair. The kind of details are fuzzy. We'll blame the excitement here. Now, let's compare this with some of those other projects then, right? Avalanche's AVAX token is around $23 right now, actually down a couple of percent in the past 24 hours. Stellar's XLM is hovering around, chilling at maybe 41 cents, not doing anything too crazy. Chainlink, on the other hand, is pushing mid-20s and has, catapulted itself to the 11th spot among all cryptos by market cap, about $16.5 billion worth of market cap. Not too shabby for something that many people overlook as just being plumbing for other blockchains, right? But here is the thing, right? Price is just one side of the story, right? A big question that I had was, is the price rally backed by real network activity, or is it just speculators hopping in on a trend? Because if it's all hype and no substance, then that pump can fizzle out real quick. So I dug into the on-chain data, and this is where my jaw hit the floor the second time. Right, it turns out that Chainlink's network usage absolutely exploded. Right, around the same time, the price jumped. Right, now on August 17th, more than 9,800 different Link addresses made at least one transfer in a day. Now that's an enormous number of active users in 24 hours. Then, as if that wasn't crazy enough, on the very next day, over 9,600 new Link wallets were created. So let me repeat that. Nearly 10,000 brand new Link holding wallets popped up in a single day, the highest that we've seen in 2025 so far. It's kind of like suddenly every kind of Tom, Dick, and Harry decided to hop on the Chainlink train all at once. Now, for a network that's kind of activity is pure adrenaline, right? Imagine a sleepy little town then, where suddenly the streets are flooded with people, shops are opening, maybe music is playing. That is essentially what Chainlink's blockchain mid-August was like. This surge suggested real, organic interest and adoption. It's not just me getting excited here. Thousands of other people were moving Link around and new people were coming into the ecosystem. So unlike many other price pumps, this Chainlink rally was actually supported by on-chain activity from real users, not just speculative trading. In other words, right, the engine in this train had fuel and it wasn't running on fumes. Now that gave me a lot more confidence that what we're seeing with Link actually has some legs to it. And it's not just the little guys getting in on the action either. Whales, the big money players, they have been making moves in Chainlink as well. In the span of a week, Whale has accumulated 1.1 million Link, right? So, which is at the time worth around $27 million. So let's let that sink in, right? $27 million of Link scooped up quietly in a week by entities who already have large positions. Plus, on top of the, at least I should say, the top 100 largest Link wallets actually increased their holdings by about 12%. These are serious numbers, right? When I see stats like that, I picture a big whale and a smug grin saying, "Thank you very much, I'll take some more." Now, whales typically aren't swayed by emotions or hype. They look at the data, they have insight, maybe have insider knowledge sometimes. So if they're loading up, it usually means that they see value at these prices. Now, I'm no whale. I'm more like a well-fed dolphin at best. But I'll admit, right, this contribution of crazy dev activity, rising usage and whale accumulation, it had me itching to add more link to my position, right? And I actually did. I opened up my Kraken Pro app for a little buy of link, right, for myself. And by the way, yes, shameless plug, right? I do have a Kraken Pro referral link, affiliate link that's in the description. It's an affiliate link, so if you do sign up and trade using it, then it actually supports the channel here at no extra cost to yourself. It, you know, keeps the lights on and keeps the coffee flowing, right? No extra cost to yourselves. No pressure, of course, you know, only if you're looking for a solid exchange. The fact that I even mentioned it is kind of proof that I was pretty hyped, right? Usually I'm Mr. Cautious. But seeing all of these positive signals, I allowed myself a little extra scoop of link. Call it a celebratory scoop then, right? Now, let's hold up for a second here, because before anyone thinks that I'm just telling you to go all in on Chainlink, let me hit the brakes for just a second. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. It's important that you do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Now, neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Alright, so I had to get that out of the way, so thanks for listening to the responsible me. He comes out every now and then. Now, let's talk about, what could go right or wrong next, because I'm not here to just cheerlead, I'm here to stay realistic, right? Now, despite all of the great news, Chainlink's chart isn't necessarily a straight up shot, right? After such a strong rally, some of the technical indicators are saying we might need a little bit of a cool down. It's overheated. So for instance, the relative strength index for Chainlink has actually climbed to the mid-60s, and the stochastic oscillator is actually up to the high 80s. So if you're not into the technical jargons here, that basically means the coin's had a strong run up and might need to cool off. Traders usually use words like overbought, i.e. too many people have bought in too quickly, so a pullback could be on the horizon as people start taking profits. Now, we're also coming up to some pretty known resistance levels as well, right? There's a zone roughly around $27.50 to $28 where the price might struggle. In fact, we already saw Link poke its head around $26, $27 and get pushed back down. And above that, there's the big psychological level of $30. Now, $30, apart from being a nice round number, is significant because it's a level that we haven't seen in a long time. If, and it's a big if, Link can power through $30, that would actually be a monumental statement, right? It would be like getting through, at least getting through it could actually be pretty tough if a lot of people might actually be taking profits just under that $30 level. And, a lot of new buyers might be waiting until it clears $30 convincingly before they buy. So I'm kind of mentally prepared for the kind of $27 to $30 being kind of like the boss battle range of this rally. And on the other hand, we should also consider support levels in case things do pull back, which they often do. Nothing goes up in straight lines forever. Now, the old resistance levels are around $21 to $22, where Chainlink, kept struggling right before breaking through, could actually now act as a support level. In fact, analysts are pointing towards $22.50 to $21 as the area where Link might find its footing if it does indeed dip. Now that kind of makes sense from what was a ceiling, or once a ceiling, could actually turn into a floor, because investors who missed buying at 21 would jump in at the chance to buy there again. Now, some market watchers, myself included, think that as long as the overall crypto mood stays upbeat, Chainlink could actually have a little bit more gas in the tank, potentially making a run towards $29 before hitting serious resistance. Now, that's not a prediction, that's just a possibility if momentum continues. However, and this is where my cautious side pipes up, if the broader altcoin market decides to throw a tantrum or Bitcoin has a sneeze, when Bitcoin sneezes, everything catches a cold, as they say, then all bets kind of are off in the short term. Those analysts, at least some analysts, kind of warn that a Chainlink downturn scenario, right, Link could actually easily slide back and retest $20 level. So it wouldn't mean Chainlink suddenly sucks, it just means that, hey, crypto volatility is doing its thing. Now for me, this all boils down to what I would call cautious optimism. On one hand, I'm thrilled to see my favorite project finally getting some well-deserved recognition and some price love. And on the other side, on the other hand, I've been around the block long enough to know that not to get too carried away. I didn't sell at $26, but I'm not betting my life savings on a $100 Link just yet either, right? If anything, I'm invigorated to keep a close eye on, Chainlink's progress going forward. Because price is one thing, right? It'll do its crazy ups and its downs dances, but the fundamentals that we talked about, the developer activity, the real adoption, the whales, etc., give me a reason to believe that even if, we do have take a short-term, maybe dip, the long-term trajectory is, without kicking you guys, I apologize, the long-term trajectory is actually pointing up, and to the right. So let's just zoom out for a second here and talk about why all of this development and, adoption really does matter. Because some of you guys watching might be thinking, okay, Chainlink is doing stuff, but what does Chainlink even do again, and why should I even care? Well, these are great questions, and trust me, they're worth knowing, right? Chainlink has been called the backbone of smart contract data, and for good reason, right? In plain terms, Chainlink is a decentralized oracle network, which basically means it looks like a bridge or a messenger that connects blockchain smart contracts with real-world data. Then blockchains, on their own, they can't fetch outside information. They're like computers with no internet connection, right? Chainlink provides that internet connection, right? Whether it's fetching the latest price of Bitcoin for a DeFi application or pulling the temperature from a sensor on an insurance payout, right? Chainlink delivers reliable data onto the blockchain. So think of it this way. If blockchain projects are the kind of body, Chainlink is the veins, and the arteries carrying the lifeblood, that's the data. And at least from the outside world. So every time a smart contract needs to know something about the real world, or the score of a game, the exchange rate of a currency, you name it, a Chainlink oracle is likely at work behind the scenes. Now this makes Chainlink absolutely critical in a lot of decentralized applications. And it's not just theory. Tons of projects, already have integrated with Chainlink's oracles, and they use them daily. This consistent demand is like a neutral engine for Link's value. The more that it's used, the more indispensable it becomes. Even during bear markets when a lot of projects went quiet, Chainlink just kept busy because people needed those data feeds. Now, tie that into the trend that we've mentioned, real-world assets. Now that movement to bring things like real estate, stocks, bonds, commodities, basically really any kind of real-world asset, onto the blockchain in a tokenized form, it's a hot buzzword these days. And guess what? You can't do that effectively without reliable real-world data flowing in. So if you're tokenizing, say, real estate, you're going to need oracles for property appraisals or rent payments. If you're bringing stocks on chain, you're going to need price feeds, corporate data, action data. Chainlink is involved in many of these RWA use cases as the data provider. So being ranked #1 in RWA development activity isn't just a vanity title. It implies Chainlink is positioning itself at the heart of this real world meets crypto revelation. As an investor, that gets me excited about its long-term prospects, right? It's like hearing your favorite tech company just became the top supplier for a new industry. It bodes well for the staying power. So, with all of that said, I do think that Chainlink is going to continue to run very, very well. I think it's got a lot of great use cases, and I think it's going to perform very well going forward. But I do expect the occasional dip here and there. So if you have found this useful and informative, make sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you all in the next one.